The ship touched down with a faint hiss as dust and glowing spores billowed around the landing gear. Evan Harper leaned back in his pilot's seat, exhaling a slow breath as the systems blinked into standby mode. "All right," he muttered, reaching for his datapad. "Let's see what Zarilia's got for us." The second voice in the cramped cockpit came from a figure sprawled across the co-pilot's seat, his longtime partner, an occasional pain in the neck, Jordan Kane. "By US, you mean me risking my ass out there while you geek out over rock formations, right?" Jordan grinned, tossing Evan a hydration pack. Evan chuckled. "That's the deal. You're the muscle, I'm the brains. We've only been doing this for, what, 5 years now?" "Feels like 10, Jordan quipped, stretching as he stood. He adjusted the utility belt slung low over his hips, packed with scanning tools and a blaster, just in case. The planet outside was mesmerizing. Even from the viewport, Evan could see the bioluminescent flora casting an otherworldly glow across the dense jungle. Towering trees shimmered with faintly pulsating light, and strange, jellyfish-like creatures floated lazily through the air. "Zarilia," Jordan said, stepping to the hatch and pausing. "Looks like the inside of a lava lamp out there. You're sure it's safe?" Evan snorted. "Safe enough. Low radiation, breathable air, minimal signs of aggressive fauna. Besides, you've got that thing." He gestured toward the blaster. "Yeah, because I'm gonna single-handedly fend off glowing wolves or whatever." The hatch opened with a mechanical groan, and the two men stepped out into the alien landscape. The air was thick, humid, and carried a faint, metallic tang. Bioluminescent plants swayed gently, their movements too deliberate to be caused by wind alone. Evan's datapad buzzed to life. "We'll split up. I'll take the northern quadrant for mapping. You handle the west. Mark anything unusual, and don't touch anything that glows brighter than your ego." Jordan grinned. "Noted. Let's see who finds the weirdest thing. Loser cooks dinner." "Deal," Evan said, already engrossed in the data stream from his pad. "And no cheating." Evan's section of the jungle was stunning but uneventful, at first. He catalogued the vibrant plants and their rhythmic glows, noting how some reacted to his presence by dimming or brightening. Every step was like walking through a living, breathing painting. Then he saw it. A figure, humanoid, but unmistakably alien. It stood amidst the glowing foliage, its silhouette outlined by the faint radiance of its skin. The creature turned its head toward him, and Evan froze. Its eyes shimmered like pools of liquid light, and its expression, if he could call it that, seemed curious rather than hostile. "Jordan," Evan whispered into his calms. "You seeing this?" Static crackled back, but no response came. The figure tilted its head, mimicking Evan's movement. Slowly, cautiously, he raised a hand in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. To his surprise, the creature raised its hand as well, mirroring him. Its skin pulsed faintly, patterns of light rippling across its surface in a mesmerizing display. Evan's translator chirped in his ear, struggling to decode the lights. "Okay," Evan murmured. "Not hostile. Just curious." The alien stepped closer, moving with a fluid grace that seemed to defy gravity. Its glow intensified slightly, casting a soft light over the immediate area. Evan remained still, his datapad forgotten in his hand. "Evan!" Jordan's voice crackled through the comms, startling both man and alien. The creature took a step back, its light dimming slightly. "Hold on," Evan said quickly, raising a calming hand toward the alien. Into the calm he added, "I'm fine, but I've got something. Someone here." "Someone?" Jordan sounded incredulous. "You mean an alien? Where are you?" Evan rattled off his coordinates. Approach slowly. I don't want to scare it off. Minutes later, Jordan arrived, his usual swagger replaced by cautious curiosity. He took one look at the glowing figure and muttered, "Well, damn. I think it's trying to communicate," Evan said. "Watch." He mimicked one of the alien's light patterns, a simple pulse and flicker. The alien's glow shifted in response, its patterns growing more complex. The translator chirped again, struggling to keep up. "What's it saying?" Jordan asked. "Not sure yet. But it's definitely intelligent." The alien took another step forward, its glowing eyes fixed on Evan. It reached out, its hand hovering inches from his chest. Evan's heart raced as he slowly extended his own hand. When their fingers finally touched, a warmth spread through him, and his translator pinged. "Connect," the device said, its mechanical voice tinny and uncertain. "Help." Evan glanced at Jordan, who raised an eyebrow. "Looks like you made a new friend. What's the plan?" Evan turned back to the alien, whose gaze never wavered. "We help. Whatever it needs, we help." Jordan sighed, shaking his head. "Of course we do. You know this wasn't part of the mission, right? Since when do we ever stick to the mission?" Evan shot back, a small smile tugging at his lips. The alien's glow pulsed brighter, almost as if it understood their exchange. Without a word, it turned and began walking deeper into the jungle, pausing to glance back at them. "Guess we're following it," Jordan said, adjusting his belt. "You're lucky I'm not the type to say, 'I told you so.'" "You'll get your chance," Evan replied, falling into step behind the alien. "But for now, let's see where this goes." Chapter 2. The Path of Light. Evan and Jordan moved through the glowing jungle, their footsteps muffled by the spongy ground. The alien, a lithe figure whose skin shimmered like moonlight on water, led them deeper into the bioluminescent forest. Its light pulsed gently, illuminating the path ahead. "You think it's safe to follow it?" Jordan whispered, his voice low but edged with skepticism. "I don't see any harm so far," Evan replied. He glanced back at Jordan. "Besides, it's the first intelligent life we've encountered in this sector. You want to pass up this kind of discovery?" Jordan snorted softly. "Discovery? Feels more like we're getting reeled in by a glowing fishing lure." The alien turned its head slightly, as if it understood their words. Its luminous eyes locked onto Evan, and the patterns of light across its body shifted to a more rapid pulse. Evan felt his translator buzz faintly in his ear. "Proceed," the device murmured. "Safe." Jordan arched an eyebrow. "It's talking to you now?" Evan shrugged. "It's trying." The translators still working things out. They continued walking, the jungle around them alive with faintly glowing plants and creatures that shimmered like stars against the dark undergrowth. Strange, jellyfish-like organisms floated silently through the air, their tendrils emitting soft halos of light. "What do you think it wants?" Jordan asked, breaking the silence. "Could be anything," Evan replied. "Help, communication, maybe even companionship. If its people are anything like this ecosystem, they're probably interconnected in ways we can't even imagine." "Great," Jordan muttered. "We've got a glowing tour guide with a language we don't speak. What's next?" As if in answer, the alien stopped abruptly and pointed toward a cluster of towering trees. Their trunks glowed faintly, but at their base, an opening was visible. The alien gestured for them to follow as it stepped inside. "Looks cozy," Jordan said, peering into the dimly lit interior. "You sure about this?" Evan nodded. "Stay close." The cavern beneath the trees was unlike anything they'd seen. Bioluminescent moss coated the walls, casting a soft, ambient light over the space. Pools of liquid shimmered in the dim glow, reflecting the rippling patterns of light from the alien's skin. In the center of the cavern stood a tall, crystalline structure that pulsed faintly, its light matching the alien's rhythm. "What is this place?" Jordan asked, his voice hushed. Evan scanned the room with his datapad. "It's emitting low-level energy signals, but I can't tell what it's for. Maybe some kind of power source? A nexus?" The alien approached the crystal and placed a hand against it. Its glow intensified, and for a moment the entire cavern brightened. The translator buzzed again. "Broken. Repair." "Repair what?" Evan asked, stepping closer. The alien turned to him, its luminous eyes filled with urgency. It pointed to the crystal, then gestured toward the pools of shimmering liquid around them. Evan crouched to examine one, holding up his datapad. "These pools are linked to the crystal," he said. "Maybe they're part of some larger system. If the crystal's damaged, it could be throwing everything out of balance." Jordan frowned. "And how exactly do we fix an alien crystal?" "Duct tape." Evan shot him a look. "We improvise. But first, we need to figure out what it's made of." The alien knelt beside Evan, its glowing fingers brushing the surface of the liquid. Patterns of light rippled across its body, and the translator buzzed again. "Energy. Life." Evan nodded slowly. "It's part of their ecosystem. This isn't just a power source. It's tied to the planet itself." Jordan crossed his arms. "So, no pressure then. Just fix the alien equivalent of a heartbeat." "Pretty much," Evan said with a wry smile. He stood and turned to the alien. "We'll help. Show us what to do." The alien's glow shifted to a softer, more harmonious pulse. It stepped toward a small alcove in the cavern and retrieved a cluster of smaller crystals, their edges jagged and irregular. It handed one to Evan, its light patterns shifting again. "Connect. Align. Looks like we need to reassemble it," Evan said, examining the crystal in his hand. "But these fractures, we're going to need precision tools to align them properly." Jordan groaned. "Of course we do. Did I mention how much I love being an intergalactic handyman?" Evan ignored him, already pulling a set of tools from his pack. He glanced at the alien. "Stay close. We might need your help to calibrate the alignment." The alien nodded, its light flickering in what Evan interpreted as agreement. Jordan rolled his eyes but crouched beside him, pulling out his own set of tools. "Let's get this over with," Jordan said. "The sooner we fix this, the sooner we can get back to the ship." "You'll miss it when it's gone," Evan said, smirking. Jordan snorted. "Not a chance. This planet's like a bad dream, pretty to look at, but too weird for comfort." As they worked, the alien watched closely, its glow flickering with subtle changes that Evan began to interpret as curiosity and encouragement. Hours passed as they carefully aligned the crystals, guided by the alien's gestures and the faint hum of energy that grew stronger with each adjustment. Finally, Evan fitted the last piece into place. The central crystal flared brightly, sending a wave of light through the cavern. The pools of liquid shimmered more vibrantly, and the air seemed to hum with renewed energy. "We did it," Evan said, wiping sweat from his brow. Jordan leaned back, letting out a low whistle. "Well, that wasn't so bad. Next time, though, I'm charging double for alien repair work." The alien stepped forward, its glow radiating warmth. It placed a hand on Evan's shoulder, and the translator buzzed one final time. "Gratitude. Balance." Evan smiled. "You're welcome." Jordan clapped him on the back. "All right, hero. Let's hope this balance thing doesn't mean the jungle starts glowing twice as bright." I need my beauty sleep. The alien gestured for them to follow again, leading them out of the cavern. As they stepped back into the glowing jungle, Evan couldn't shake the feeling that their journey on Xerilia was far from over. Chapter 3: Threads of Light. Evan and Jordan followed the alien through the glowing jungle, the silence between them filled with the soft hum of distant creatures and the gentle rustle of shifting leaves. The alien's light pulsed in deliberate patterns, illuminating their path like a living lantern. "Any idea where it's taking us?" Jordan asked, his voice low but laced with impatience. Evan shook his head, his eyes fixed on the alien. "Not yet, but I think it has a purpose. Just keep an open mind." "Sure," Jordan said, adjusting the strap of his equipment bag. Open mind, closed blaster holster. The alien slowed as they approached a wide clearing. At the center stood a cluster of intricate structures made of glowing vines and crystalline fragments. The light from the alien's skin grew brighter as it gestured for them to follow closely. "Is this a village?" Jordan asked, scanning the area. Evan stepped forward, his datapad held up like a shield. "More like an enclave. Look at the symmetry of those structures. It's not random." As they entered the clearing, other figures emerged from the shadows. More aliens, their bodies glowing in hues of blue and green, approached cautiously. Each one emitted unique light patterns, as if communicating silently with one another. "This just got a whole lot more interesting," Jordan muttered, his hand hovering near his holster. Evan raised a hand to calm him. "They don't seem hostile, just curious." One of the newcomers, slightly taller and with more intricate patterns on its skin, stepped forward. It exchanged a series of rapid light pulses with their guide, the rhythms complex and difficult for Evan to track. His translator buzzed, struggling to catch up. "Exchange. Understanding," the device murmured. "I think they want to talk," Evan said, lowering his datapad. He gestured toward the translator. "Let's try to make this work." The taller alien tilted its head, then emitted a slower series of pulses directed at Evan. The translator buzzed again. "Assist. Connect. They need help," Evan interpreted. He turned to Jordan. "We're onto something bigger here." Jordan sighed. "Yeah, I gathered that from the alien welcome party. What do you think they want us to connect to?" Their guide, the alien they'd first met, stepped closer, gesturing toward a large crystalline structure at the edge of the clearing. Unlike the one they'd repaired earlier, this crystal was massive, its light faint and flickering. Surrounding it were more of the shimmering pools, their surfaces unnaturally still. Evan frowned. "That structure. It's like the heart of their enclave." The taller alien emitted another burst of light, and the translator buzzed. "Repair. Balance incomplete." Jordan crossed his arms. "So we fix one crystal, and now they want us to rebuild their entire planet?" "Not the entire planet," Evan said, though his tone lacked certainty. "But if this enclave depends on these systems, it's worth a try." The taller alien gestured for them to follow, leading them to the large crystal. Up close, Evan could see the fractures running through its surface. He glanced at Jordan. "This one's going to be tricky." Jordan groaned. "Why do I feel like tricky is code for we're going to be here all night?" Evan ignored him, studying the crystal with his datapad. "The energy signatures are similar to the smaller one we repaired. If we can align the fragments and stabilize the core, it should restore its function." "And if we can't?" Jordan asked. Evan hesitated. "Then their whole ecosystem might collapse." Jordan let out a low whistle. "No pressure." The aliens surrounded them, their glowing patterns shifting as if in anticipation. Evan retrieved his tools, setting them on the ground. We'll need to work fast. This one's a lot more fragile. Jordan crouched beside him, pulling out a compact stabilizer from his pack. You focus on the alignment. I'll keep this thing from blowing up in our faces. Evan smiled faintly. You always know how to lighten the mood. It's a gift, Jordan replied, his tone dry. As they worked, the aliens watched intently. Their guide knelt beside Evan, occasionally pointing to specific fractures and emitting light patterns that seemed to guide his adjustments. The translator struggled to keep up, offering fragmented phrases like energy flow and restore link. Jordan glanced at the group of aliens. They're really invested in this, aren't they? Evan nodded, his focus on the crystal. It's more than just a power source. This is their lifeline. Hours passed, the work meticulous and exhausting. Evan's hands ached from steadying the delicate fragments, while Jordan adjusted the stabilizer with practiced precision. Finally, Evan inserted the last fragment, sealing it in place with a small burst of energy from his tools. The crystal flared to life, sending ripples of light through the clearing. The shimmering pools began to ripple, their surfaces glowing more vibrantly. A soft hum filled the air, a sound that seemed to resonate deep in Evan's chest. The aliens emitted synchronized pulses of light, their patterns weaving together in a mesmerizing display. The translator buzzed. Gratitude. Renewal. Evan sat back, letting out a long breath. We did it. Jordan leaned against a nearby tree, wiping sweat from his brow. You mean you did it? I just kept it from blowing up. The taller alien stepped forward, placing a hand on Evan's shoulder. Its light shifted to a steady glow, and the translator buzzed again. Unity. Friend. Evan smiled. Friend, huh? I think I can live with that. Jordan chuckled. Well, that's one way to make a first impression. So, what now? Their guide gestured toward the edge of the clearing, where the jungle seemed to part, revealing a path leading further into the forest. The translator buzzed softly. Journey continues. Evan exchanged a glance with Jordan. Looks like we're not done yet. Jordan groaned but pushed himself to his feet. Figures. Let's just hope the next crystal comes with instructions. Evan laughed, following the alien as it led them down the glowing path. Despite his exhaustion, he couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. Whatever lay ahead, he knew they were only beginning to understand the true depth of this alien world. Chapter 4. Echoes of Energy. Evan and Jordan trudged along the glowing path, the soft light from the alien ahead casting long, wavering shadows in the dense jungle. The air hummed with faint energy, the alien's presence an ever-present guide. Jordan, as usual, broke the silence first. So, another crystal to fix, huh? Think we'll be the local repairmen by the time this is all over. Evan smirked. Maybe they'll put up a statue in our honor. To the two humans who patched our glowing rocks. Jordan chuckled. Yeah, as long as it doesn't involve me glowing like them. Their guide stopped abruptly, its light dimming slightly. It turned back to face them, gesturing toward a clearing ahead. Evan and Jordan stepped forward cautiously, peering into what looked like a natural amphitheater. At the center stood another massive crystal, but this one was different. Instead of faint light, it emitted erratic flashes, like lightning trapped within. That doesn't look good, Jordan muttered, tightening his grip on his equipment bag. Evan nodded. It's destabilized. If the energy output keeps fluctuating like that, it could... He trailed off, not wanting to finish the thought. Explode, Jordan offered. Something like that, Evan admitted. He glanced at their guide. How do we stabilize it? The alien emitted a series of rapid pulses, the translator buzzing faintly. Anchor. Connection incomplete. Jordan raised an eyebrow. Anchor? What does that mean? Evan rubbed his chin, deep in thought. It might mean the crystal isn't tethered to the rest of the network properly. We'll need to find a way to realign it. Jordan sighed. Of course we will. So, where do we start? The alien gestured toward the edges of the clearing, where smaller, fractured crystals lay scattered like broken shards of glass. Evan crouched to inspect one, scanning it with his datapad. These fragments are still active, he said. If we can reconnect them to the main crystal, it might stabilize the output. Jordan frowned. And if it doesn't? Evan shot him a dry look. Then we run. Fantastic, Jordan muttered. Let's get to it. The two men began gathering the fragments, carefully avoiding the erratic flashes of light from the central crystal. The alien watched silently, occasionally emitting faint pulses that seemed to guide their movements. Jordan picked up a particularly jagged piece and turned it over in his hands. You ever think about how weird this is? Two guys from Earth, fixing alien tech we don't even understand. Evan chuckled. All the time. But you have to admit, it's pretty incredible. We're not just exploring, we're helping. Jordan smirked. You always were the optimistic one. They returned to the center of the clearing with their collected fragments. Evan laid them out carefully, studying their shapes and energy readings. We'll need to fit these together like a puzzle, he said. But the energy flow has to be seamless, or it won't work. Jordan rolled his eyes. Great. I love puzzles. The alien stepped forward, its light shifting to a steady pulse. It gestured toward one of the fragments, then toward the central crystal. Evan watched closely, trying to interpret the movements. It's showing us the alignment pattern, he said. We just have to follow its lead. Jordan grinned. Lead the way, Captain. They worked methodically, placing each fragment in its proper position. The alien's guidance was invaluable, its light patterns acting as a visual blueprint. Sweat dripped down Evan's face as he adjusted the final piece, his hands trembling slightly. That should do it, he said, stepping back. Now we just need to activate it. Jordan raised an eyebrow. Activate it how? Evan glanced at the alien. That's your cue. The alien approached the reassembled crystal, placing both hands against its surface. Its light intensified, spreading across the fragments like water. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a low hum, the crystal flared to life, its light steady and vibrant. It worked, Evan said, letting out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Jordan clapped him on the shoulder. Nice job, genius. Now let's hope it stays that way. The alien turned to them, its light pulsing in slow, deliberate patterns. The translator buzzed softly. Unity. Progress. Evan smiled. Unity and progress. Sounds like a good motto. Jordan smirked. Yeah, let's put that on a t-shirt. As the crystal stabilized, the jungle around them seemed to come alive. The trees glowed brighter, the air buzzing with renewed energy. Evan felt a sense of accomplishment, but also a lingering curiosity. What was the true purpose of these crystals, and why had they been damaged in the first place? Their guide gestured for them to follow once more, leading them toward another path that disappeared into the jungle. Jordan groaned. You've got to be kidding me. Another path. How many of these things are we going to fix? Evan chuckled. Think of it as job security. Yeah, because that's what I signed up for, Jordan said, shaking his head. Come on, then. Let's see where this one leads. As they walked, Evan couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of something much bigger. The crystals, the aliens, the interconnected energy, it all pointed to a larger mystery. And despite the challenges, he was eager to uncover the truth. Chapter 5. Beneath the Surface. The alien led Evan and Jordan down a winding path that grew narrower with each step. Bioluminescent plants brushed their shoulders, casting faint, shifting patterns of light over their faces. The hum of energy in the air deepened, resonating in their chests like a low, unending drumbeat. "Do you hear that?" Jordan asked, glancing around. Evan nodded. "It's stronger here. We must be close to something important." Jordan snorted. "Great. More glowing rocks to fix, I bet." The path opened into a cavern, its walls alive with swirling light. At its center stood another massive crystal, but this one was partially submerged in a pool of shimmering liquid. Unlike the others, it emitted a deep, throbbing hum, its fractured surface pulsing erratically. "Okay," Jordan said, letting out a slow breath. "This one looks angry." Evan scanned the crystal with his datapad, frowning at the chaotic readings. "The energy flow is completely unstable. If we don't fix this, it could trigger a chain reaction." "Chain reaction?" Jordan echoed. "Define chain reaction." "Best case, it fries this part of the network. Worst case, it destabilizes everything." Jordan sighed, dropping his pack. "Well, let's not let that happen. What's the plan?" Evan studied the crystal, noting the fractures and the way its energy interacted with the liquid around it. "This pool, it's acting like a conductor. If we can stabilize the crystal, the liquid should distribute the energy evenly." Jordan crouched beside the pool, dipping a gloved hand into the liquid. He pulled it back quickly, shaking off the glowing droplets. "It's warm. Feels almost alive." The alien stepped forward, gesturing toward the pool and emitting a series of rapid pulses. The translator buzzed. "Flow. Balance." Evan nodded. "It's part of the system. If we can align the energy flow, it should stabilize." "And how do we do that?" Jordan asked. Evan grinned. "Carefully." Jordan rolled his eyes. "Thanks for the insight, Captain Obvious." They began setting up their equipment, arranging tools and stabilizers around the crystal. The alien knelt beside them, its glowing fingers tracing patterns on the crystal's surface. Evan watched closely, trying to interpret the movements. "It's showing us the weak points," he said. "We need to reinforce these areas first." Jordan grabbed a stabilizer and adjusted its settings. "You focus on that. I'll monitor the energy flow. If it spikes, we'll know we're in trouble." Evan worked quickly but meticulously, applying energy conduits to the crystal's fractures. Each connection sent a ripple through the liquid, the pool glowing brighter with every adjustment. Jordan kept a close eye on the readings, his expression tense. "Energy levels are rising," he said. "Is that supposed to happen?" Evan glanced at the datapad. "It's normal. The system is recalibrating. Just keep an eye out for any sudden surges." Jordan muttered under his breath, but nodded. "You're the boss." As they worked, the alien emitted a low, steady pulse, its glow intensifying. Evan felt a strange sense of calm wash over him, as if the alien's presence was reassuring them. "You ever wonder why they need us for this?" Jordan asked, breaking the silence. "I mean, they seem pretty advanced. Why not fix it themselves?" Evan paused, considering the question. Maybe it's not about capability. Maybe it's about perspective. Sometimes an outside view can make all the difference. Or maybe, Jordan said with a smirk, they just like watching us sweat. Evan chuckled. That's always a possibility. They continued their work, the crystal's hum growing steadier with each adjustment. Evan fitted the final conduit into place and stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. "That's it," he said. "Now we just need to activate it." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "You mean let our glowing friend do the honors, right?" Evan nodded. "Exactly." The alien stepped forward, placing its hands on the crystal. Its light pulsed in rhythmic waves, spreading across the crystal and into the liquid. For a moment, the cavern was silent, the only sound the faint crackle of energy. Then, with a low, resonant hum, the crystal flared to life. The pool glowed brightly, its surface rippling with energy. "Energy levels are stable," Jordan reported, glancing at the datapad. "Looks like we did it." The alien turned to them, its glow radiating warmth. The translator buzzed softly. "Gratitude. Connection." Evan smiled. "Connection. That's what this is all about." Jordan clapped him on the back. "Nice speech. Now let's get out of here before the next glowing rock decides it needs our help." The alien gestured toward a narrow passage at the back of the cavern. Evan and Jordan exchanged a glance. "Another path," Jordan groaned. "Of course." Evan chuckled. "Come on. You know you'd miss this if we stopped now." Jordan shook his head but followed. "You're lucky I don't have anywhere better to be." As they entered the passage, the hum of energy faded behind them, replaced by the faint sounds of the jungle. Evan couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. They were making a difference, one step at a time. But he also knew there were more challenges ahead, and he was ready to face them, together. Chapter 6. The Pulse of Discovery. The narrow passage opened into a sprawling chamber, unlike anything Evan and Jordan had seen before. The walls glowed faintly, etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and pulse in sync with the rhythm of their footsteps. The hum in the air was louder now, resonating in their very bones. Jordan stopped, his gaze sweeping across the room. "All right, this place is something else. Any bets on what's next?" Evan studied the chamber with his datapad, scanning the patterns. "If I had to guess, I'd say this is the central node. Everything we've seen so far is connected to this central node." Jordan repeated, frowning. "You mean the brain of the operation?" "More like the heart," Evan replied. "And judging by these energy readings, it's not functioning at full capacity." The alien stepped forward, its glow intensifying. It gestured toward the far end of the chamber, where a massive crystal structure jutted from the ground. Unlike the others, this one wasn't fractured. Instead, it was surrounded by a lattice of smaller crystals, each pulsing weakly. Jordan let out a low whistle. "Biggest one yet." "Think it's broken?" Evan shook his head. "Not broken. Disconnected. The smaller crystals aren't transferring energy properly." The alien emitted a series of rapid pulses, the translator buzzing faintly. "Reconnect. Flow incomplete." Jordan groaned. "Figures. So, how do we fix it?" Evan stepped closer to the crystal, examining the lattice. "The conduits are intact, but they're not aligned. It's like a mis-wired circuit." Jordan dropped his pack on the ground with a thud. "Let me guess. We're rewiring it." Evan grinned. "You catch on fast." Jordan rolled his eyes. "Fantastic. All right, boss. What's the plan?" Evan knelt beside the nearest conduit, pulling out a set of tools. "We start here. Adjust the alignment one section at a time. Once we've reconnected the entire lattice, the energy flow should stabilize." Jordan crouched next to him, pulling out his own tools. "All right. Let's get to it. The two men worked side by side, carefully adjusting the conduits while the alien observed. Its glow shifted with their progress, occasionally pulsing in encouragement. The energy in the room grew more intense with each adjustment, the hum deepening into a resonant thrum. "So," Jordan said as he tightened a connection, "you think this is all natural? Or did someone build it?" Evan paused, considering the question. "I'm not sure. It feels organic, like it grew here. But the level of complexity. It's hard to imagine it wasn't designed." "Designed by who?" Jordan pressed. "The aliens we're helping? Or something else?" Evan shrugged. "That's the mystery, isn't it? Whoever or whatever created this system, they understood energy in ways we can't even begin to comprehend." Jordan smirked. "Sounds like your kind of puzzle." Evan chuckled. "You know me too well." They moved to the next section, the alien stepping in to guide their work. Its glowing fingers traced the patterns on the conduits, indicating where adjustments were needed. Evan followed its lead, while Jordan monitored the energy readings on the datapad. "Energy flow is stabilizing," Jordan reported. "Keep it up." Evan nodded, his focus unwavering. "Almost there." As they worked, the hum in the chamber grew steadier, the shifting patterns on the walls synchronizing with the crystal's pulse. The alien emitted a soft, melodic sound, its glow brightening with every adjustment. "You notice that?" Jordan asked, glancing at the alien. "It's like it's singing." Evan smiled. "Maybe it's their way of communicating gratitude." Jordan snorted. "I'll take a thank you over glowing rock music any day." Finally, they reached the last conduit. Evan tightened the final connection, and the room seemed to hold its breath. The central crystal flared brilliantly, its light cascading through the lattice and into the walls. The hum deepened into a harmonious vibration, filling the chamber with an almost tangible sense of balance. "That did it," Evan said, stepping back to admire their work. "The system is fully operational." Jordan let out a relieved sigh. "Good. I was starting to think we'd be stuck here forever." The alien approached them, its glow radiating warmth. The translator buzzed softly. "Harmony. Completion." Evan smiled. "You're welcome." Jordan clapped him on the shoulder. "All right, genius. What's next?" Before Evan could respond, the walls of the chamber began to shift. The patterns morphed into a series of symbols, glowing brightly. The alien stepped forward, emitting rapid pulses of light as it studied the symbols. The translator buzzed again. "Knowledge. Path forward." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "Path forward? Sounds like they want us to keep going." Evan nodded. "Looks like this was just the beginning." Jordan groaned. "Of course it was." The alien gestured toward an archway that had appeared on the far side of the chamber. Beyond it, a faint light beckoned. "Another path," Jordan muttered. "Why am I not surprised?" Evan chuckled. "Come on. You know you're curious." Jordan sighed but followed. Yeah. Let's see what's next in this glowing mystery tour." As they stepped through the archway, Evan couldn't help but feel a surge of anticipation. Whatever lay ahead, he knew they were uncovering something far greater than they had ever imagined, and they were doing it together. Chapter 7. The Echoing Depths. The archway led to a descending staircase, each step faintly glowing underfoot. The hum of energy that had filled the previous chamber grew softer, replaced by a distant, rhythmic vibration, like a heartbeat reverberating through the stone walls. Evan and Jordan exchanged a look before continuing downward. "You notice how it's always darker the deeper we go?" Jordan asked, his voice echoing faintly. Evan nodded, scanning their surroundings with his datapad. It's like the system is designed to pull us inward, layer by layer. Jordan snorted. Designed to trap us, more like. Their alien guide, walking ahead, turned and emitted a quick pulse of light. The translator buzzed faintly. Discovery. Depths. Jordan rolled his eyes. Great. More glowing riddles. Evan smirked. You'll miss the glowing riddles when we're back in the void of space. I doubt that, Jordan muttered, adjusting the strap of his equipment pack. The stairs ended in a vast cavern, unlike the previous chambers. Here, the walls were adorned with sprawling, organic structures that pulsed gently. At the center of the room stood an enormous obelisk-like crystal, taller than any they had seen before. Its surface was smooth, almost glass-like, and it emitted a faint, irregular glow. Jordan whistled softly. That thing looks like it hasn't woken up in centuries. Evan approached cautiously, his datapad flickering with data. It's dormant. The energy flow is minimal, but the potential readings are off the charts. And I'm guessing you want to wake it up? Jordan asked, arching an eyebrow. Evan nodded. If this crystal is the core of the system, reactivating it could bring everything back online. Jordan sighed. All right, but if it explodes and we all go up in a cloud of glowing dust, I'm haunting you. Their alien guide stepped forward, its light dimming as it placed a hand against the crystal. The translator buzzed softly. Unity. Energy. Connection incomplete. Evan frowned. It's like the other crystals we've worked on, but more complicated. We'll need to stabilize the energy conduits before we can even think about reactivation. Jordan dropped his pack with a groan. Of course we will. Let's get to it. The two men worked together, setting up their tools and examining the crystal's base. Dozens of conduits stretched outward like roots, their surfaces dim and cracked. This is going to take a while, Evan said, crouching to inspect the nearest conduit. You don't say, Jordan replied dryly, pulling out a stabilizer. Let's split up. You handle the alignment. I'll check the structural integrity. Evan nodded. Good plan. Just be careful. Careful is my middle name, Jordan quipped, grinning as he moved toward another section of the crystal. As they worked, their alien companion moved between them, its light shifting to indicate areas of focus. The translator buzzed occasionally, offering fragmented phrases like align flow and strengthen bond. You ever wonder what this thing actually does? Jordan asked as he tightened a stabilizer. Evan glanced at him. You mean besides keeping the ecosystem alive? Yeah. Feels like there's more to it than that, Jordan said, gesturing toward the obelisk. Something this big doesn't just exist to water the plants. Evan considered the idea. Maybe it's part of a larger network, a power source, a communication hub, or even something we can't understand. Let's hope it's not a weapon, Jordan muttered. They worked in silence for a while, the hum of the cavern punctuated only by the faint clicks and beeps of their tools. The alien remained close, its glowing presence oddly comforting. Energy levels are stabilizing, Evan said, checking his datapad. We're making progress. Good, Jordan replied. Because I think I just found the last connection point. Evan joined him, examining the spot where one of the largest conduits met the base of the crystal. The connection was heavily corroded, its surface dark and uneven. This is it, Evan said. If we can restore this link, the system should come back online. Jordan nodded. All right. Let's finish this. Together, they worked to clear the corrosion and re-establish the connection. The process was painstaking, each adjustment sending faint ripples of light through the conduits. Finally, Evan secured the last piece in place and stepped back, holding his breath. The obelisk began to glow, its light spreading slowly outward. The conduits pulsed in unison, and the cavern filled with a deep, resonant hum. The alien emitted a melodic series of pulses, its light brightening to an almost blinding intensity. "It's working," Evan said, a note of awe in his voice. "Yeah," Jordan replied, shielding his eyes. "But what exactly is it doing?" Before Evan could answer, the obelisk emitted a beam of light that shot upward, disappearing into the ceiling. The patterns on the walls shifted, forming intricate symbols that seemed to tell a story. The alien stepped forward, its gaze fixed on the symbols. The translator buzzed softly. "Awakening. Knowledge shared." Evan frowned. "Knowledge shared? What does that mean?" Jordan tapped his datapad, scanning the symbols. "Whatever it is, it's broadcasting something. The energy readings are off the scale." The alien turned to them, its light pulsing gently. The translator buzzed again. "Gratitude. Journey continues." Evan exchanged a glance with Jordan. "Looks like we're not done yet." Jordan groaned. "Of course we're not." The alien gestured toward another archway that had appeared in the far wall, its glow inviting them forward. "Another path," Jordan muttered. "Why am I not surprised?" Evan chuckled. "You love it." Jordan sighed but followed. Yeah. Let's see where this one takes us." As they stepped through the archway, the light from the obelisk faded behind them. Evan felt a surge of anticipation. Whatever lay ahead, he knew they were on the brink of uncovering something extraordinary, and he was ready to face it, with Jordan by his side. Chapter 8. The Core Revealed. The new path led them into a smaller, more intimate chamber, its walls glowing faintly with intricate spirals of light. The air was dense with energy, each step carrying a faint static that prickled against their skin. Evan's grip tightened on his datapad, while Jordan adjusted his equipment pack, a grim expression on his face. "You think this is the end of the line?" Jordan asked, his voice low. Evan glanced at their alien guide, who stood motionless in the center of the room. Its light pulsed in a calm, steady rhythm, as if waiting. "Feels like we're close," Evan replied. "But I'm not sure what we're supposed to do here." Jordan snorted. "Great. Another room full of glowing mystery. My favorite." Evan smirked. "Admit it. You'd miss this if we went back to charting empty asteroid fields." "I'd miss the quiet," Jordan shot back, but the corner of his mouth twitched in a reluctant smile. Their guide moved suddenly, its light intensifying as it approached the far wall. The spirals there shifted and morphed, revealing a central panel embedded with smaller crystals. The translator buzzed faintly. "Activate. Complete connection." Evan stepped forward, scanning the panel. "This is it. The heart of the system. If we activate this, it should bring everything together." "And by everything, you mean?" Jordan asked. Evan hesitated. "The entire network. Every crystal, every conduit, it's all connected. If this works, it'll restore the balance across the planet." Jordan folded his arms. "And if it doesn't work?" Evan met his gaze. "Then we probably won't have to worry about it." Jordan sighed. "All right, let's get on with it." Together, they approached the panel. Evan began configuring the datapad to interface with the alien technology, his fingers flying across the screen. Jordan knelt beside him, examining the connections. "Looks like some of these circuits are degraded," Jordan said. "We'll need to reinforce them before we try anything." Evan nodded. "I'll handle the interface. You work on the reinforcements." "Of course," Jordan muttered, pulling out his tools. "I always get the dirty jobs." As they worked, their alien companion stood silently, its light pulsing in a rhythmic pattern. Evan couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency building, the weight of the task pressing down on him. "You ever think about what happens after this?" Jordan asked, his voice breaking the silence. Evan glanced at him. "What do you mean?" Jordan shrugged, not looking up from his work. "I mean, what if this changes everything? What if we're messing with something way bigger than we understand?" Evan considered the question. "That's possible. But if we don't try, this system could collapse entirely. The planet, and maybe these people, might not survive." Jordan grunted. "No pressure, then." "Exactly," Evan said with a faint smile. Finally, the circuits were reinforced, and the panel began to hum faintly. Evan adjusted the datapad settings, aligning the interface with the alien technology. The spirals of light on the walls pulsed faster, filling the chamber with a soft, almost musical rhythm. "Here goes nothing," Evan said, pressing the final command. The room seemed to hold its breath as the panel lit up, sending a wave of light through the walls. The spirals expanded, flowing outward like ripples on water. The alien stepped forward, placing its hand on the panel. Its light grew brighter, merging with the system. The translator buzzed faintly. "Unity achieved. Connection restored." The energy in the room surged, and the entire chamber was bathed in brilliant light. Evan shielded his eyes, his heart pounding as the vibrations in the air grew stronger. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the light dimmed, leaving a soft, steady glow. Jordan let out a slow breath. Did it work? Evan checked the datapad. Energy levels are stable. The network is fully operational. Their alien companion turned to them, its gaze steady. The translator buzzed softly. "Gratitude. Life renewed." Evan smiled. "You're welcome." Jordan clapped him on the shoulder. "Nice job, genius. Now let's get out of here before this thing decides it needs another upgrade." Before they could move, the spirals of light shifted again, forming a series of symbols on the walls. The alien emitted a soft hum, studying them closely. The translator buzzed one final time. "Knowledge shared. Purpose revealed." Evan frowned, his eyes scanning the symbols. "It's a map," he said slowly. "A map of the entire network, and beyond." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "Beyond? What does that mean?" Evan's gaze narrowed. "I think this system isn't just about the planet. It's connected to something larger, maybe even a network that spans across worlds." Jordan groaned. "Of course it is. So, what now?" The alien turned to them, its light pulsing gently. The translator buzzed softly. "Journey continues." Evan exchanged a glance with Jordan. "I guess that's up to us." Jordan sighed, shouldering his pack. "Well, if we're going to keep saving the galaxy, we'd better stock up on snacks." Evan chuckled. "Let's take it one step at a time." As they followed the alien out of the chamber, Evan felt a sense of quiet determination. Whatever lay ahead, he knew they were part of something far greater than themselves, and he was ready to face it, together with Jordan.